night, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for being here. As Maya already told you, we are going to have a session today about how to make better photos and videos for your activities, for your projects, and for like portraying scouting in general. Just a disclosure, because we don't have like a very long time, I will not be focusing on specific technical aspects of photography, like very specific details about composition or about the use of some cameras, because everyone here has different levels. Some of you might never taken professional photographs, some of you might have done it. So what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to be giving you some tips and ideas in order for you to make the most out of the situations where you need to take photos. So if you need to capture a project, or if you need to capture an event, how to make the most out of what you have. Well, I assume that most people here have some device like this with a camera, and many of us use this as our main source of photography. So I will be giving also some tips on how to better utilize your phones. But of course, most of these things apply to any camera that you have. So let's go straight to it. So now I hope that you can all see my screen, and I'm going to jump straight to it so that we also have some time at the end for questions. Also, if at any point you have a question, please raise your hand, and if I don't see your hand being raised up, Maya will let me know that there is a question on the ground. So first of all, either you are taking photos with your phone, or with a camera, or with a GoPro, or with a fancy DSLR or whatever. The first recommendation that I'm going to give you is to use the best resources that you have. So basically, when you're I'm just putting this photo here as an example of something that can be improved. So this is a photo of some scouts doing a service of collecting rubbish while walking on the forest. But if you see the photograph, I mean, we see it, we understand what they are doing, but it's not like a great photo. It's okay, we see what they are doing, but maybe the photographer in this photograph could have done some things in a different way. For example, show more faces, so maybe go in the front of the group, maybe take different angles to see the trees, maybe ask everyone to actually stop and turn around so that they could take the photo. There are several ways to make use of this same scene so that it looks better and it portrays better what we want to do. So in that sense, like, I mean, this is very specific for a forest, but in any situation, well, almost any situation, unless you're capturing something that will happen only once in a lifetime, usually you can move things around. So if you see that there's I don't know, a very bright object next to the person that you're photographing or that you're making a video of, and it distracts the view, maybe you can just take it away and then take your photo or take your clip. Maybe if there are, I don't know, like if the person is behind some branches and you cannot really see them and you want to see clearly their faces, maybe you can ask them to move around. So always take a look of your environment and make a decision to how you could make that photograph or that video clip better. Okay. Number two, usually in order to portray scouting, in order to portray activities, in order to portray actions, it is better to show the young people doing the activity. So we all love group photos. We like our group photos to remember things for our own memory, because it's nice to have everyone in the photo. We make sure that everyone's there, but it is not great to portray scouting or to portray scouting like externally, or to portray the activities that they are doing. It is better to have young people in action. For sure, also take the group photo for the group to have it, but it is better that whenever you're portraying an activity, have them doing action. And then, so for example, these, if we see they are not amazing photos, this is an activity of some scouts giving service in a hospital, cleaning the different rooms. And if we had had just a group photo of these scouts, we wouldn't have got all the action that is happening. Like this is, even though these are not amazing photos in the terms of like technically they are not great photos, they tell us what was happening. Like there were boys and girls, there were cleaning different areas. You can see the hospital equipment, you can see them with the different tools that they had. So you can really have a better picture of what was happening here. So if you see this group of photos, you understand what was happening, not just by like a group photo. Then another thing, like emotions are very important. Maybe the scouts are doing some amazing activity, amazing service actions. For example, these Cub Scouts here are playing with, visiting some some elderly home and playing with them, which is great. But especially in this photograph, the kids look quite boring. Maybe they were just thinking, and maybe they are not bored at all, but they look a bit bored. So emotions are important, and especially when we are portraying young people. So let's try to take multiple so that you can have different expressions, or you can always ask them like, look at the camera, give me a smile, and then do it. And this works for both still images and video images. Okay, so now give a little bit of context. Whenever you are either photographing an activity or photographing a service action or anything, we need to give a little bit of context, and this works for both photo and video. In photo, you have taken multiple photos. In video, you take multiple clips that portray the action. So we want to know how many people were involved in the activity. Were there just 2 scouts doing a service actions? Were there only 2 scouts in the scout camp? Were there 20? So in different shots, you should portray like how many people are actually involved in it. What are they doing? Are they planting trees? Are they like climbing? Are they debating? Like we have to take some photos where we also answer these questions. And then where is it? Like, is it in a forest? Is it in a music hall? Is it in a scout house? Like also, like it's good to vary like the angles and everything so that we can portray the whole place and we can give the audience a better experience of what was happening so that they get a better understanding of the story. And also in terms of service actions, like who's benefiting from it? Like if they are, like for example, in the previous photo, like if the Cub Scouts are playing games with some elderly people, then we should show them with the elderly people, of course, as long as we have permission of actually taking photos of the people. So just as an example, I'm showing you these photographs. I took this in Azerbaijan in 2017 at the conference. So it's about like there are 3 different photographs of the same thing. Like there were some side discussions, so we can see that there was a table preceding the session. There were some participations in open like standing participations, and there were also some groups, and you get like some variety from close-up so that you get like the emotion of a person, and also you get like some wider shots so that you get to know like what type of environment they were having. So yes, don't stick to just one photograph, or one single video clip. Try to get the different angles to portray better the situation. And this also comes in like, you can get close, you can go too far away, you can get to this side, you can get to this side, in order to tell a better story of what is happening. Then while I've been telling you that it is good to take different angles and different things, it's not like if you're, for example, publishing a story or making a video, like it's not always good to have 200 things of the same thing. Like it is good that you take them, but then you can select what is the best. So choose the best photo. And again, like in this example, that this was from, again, the conference in 2017, like I took several photos of this moment when they were announcing that Egypt would be the next host, and we select the best one of the series of shots in order to tell better the story. right? Unless you're actually telling different angles and you want to like complement your story with different images, it's not always good to have hundreds of the same. So it's better to choose the same. All this also applies in video. Like sometimes, especially like if there are some people here that have experience editing video, it is hard to throw some of our clips away. Like we shoot them, so we are very attached to them, and sometimes it's very hard to choose uh, to not put them there. But it is better to tell a concise story in just a couple of minutes than having 20 minutes of repetitive shots that we enjoy because we shoot them, but they are not that interesting to someone that just wants to get to the point of the story. So yeah, choose the best. Then another tip that I want to give you, and this is either you are the best photographer and all with super technical, or if you are taking photos with your phone, take your time. There are very few situations where things only happen once. I mean, if you're for some reason photographing the chief scout of your country, giving the hand to the president of your country, probably that's only happening once, and you need to like be there and take the photo, whatever you have. But in most other situations, you can take your time and like if you take the photo, look at it and think, how could this be better? So for example, in this photograph, this was from another project, and we just got this photo, and yes, we can see that here are two young women painting a place, but we don't really see their faces. There's like a lot of sun in one of them. We don't get that much context, and maybe like the person that took the photo could have go to the side and take them from another angle where you can see actually their expressions, or ask them to turn around and show their painting rolls, or yeah, just take the time to improve the photograph. And it's completely fine to take a photo or take a video clip and look at it and think, how can I make this better? I mean, in some situations, I was saying like time is sensitive and you need to run, but most cases we don't. Like if we are in a scout camp or in a national camp or conference or whatever, we can retake the photo, we can think how to make it better. As I was saying here, like if the picture is not good, just retake it, nothing happens, and then choose the best one. So as an example, so back in 2017, we had a big earthquake in Mexico, and I happened to be there, and I visited my scout group, and in my scout group, they were collecting all the supplies to give to people in the earthquake. And so I went in there, I only had my phone, and I took this photo, and then I looked at the photo and thought like, this looks horrible. They are not like they are in movement because they are the lighting is very low, so like some of them don't look very flattery, like we cannot really see what is happening. So then I look at the photo, I take my time, think, how can I make this better? And with the same phone, with the same lighting, with the same people, I just like ask them, like, because there is very few lighting, I will not be able to take them with lots of movement. So I just asked them, told them like, I'm going to take another photo, just hold the action that you're doing for a couple of seconds. I raise up more my camera so that I can actually get a little bit more view of what is happening. And this is not the best photo at all, but at least they look better. We can see better the action, and it's not like I distracted them a long time from the service that they were doing. It's just like a couple of seconds, and then they are prouder to show this photo, and it's better just to share. And still, like, it's still a photo taken with a phone. Like, it's not the best thing ever, but it works better for portraying the action. And same with video. Like, if the clip was with not enough light, or if the people were not there, or if it was too shaky, you can most of the times just retake it. Now, another tip that I want to give you is pay a lot of attention of the lighting. Like, many times it's not possible to move people around because it's an action just happening in a place. But if you are like taking a photograph of someone, or making an interview, or recording yourself speaking to camera, or yeah, like, or any other like situation where you have a little bit of control of the subject, try to find better lighting. I put all these photos, these are portraits that I've taken of scouts at different moments. And this is all natural lighting. Like I don't have any fancy light bulbs or like big rigging with fancy lighting. This is checking like what is the light that I have available, where is the window, like if there's shade, and then finding the way that the light touches the subject, and then I take that photo. Like it is sometimes very common that because you just want to take the photo or want to take the clip or make the interview, you end up with a very, very harsh light in the back. So then the subject goes completely dark and then you only have light in the back. Or if the subject is well exposed, everything else is white, or maybe they are too dark, or maybe the light is like too harsh on top of them. And so you see lots of shades that make them look ugly. So again, and this comes with taking your time and making like better decisions with the situations that you have to, yeah, put your subject where they get some nice natural lighting. Natural light is very easy to use in the sense of like it's there, the sun, you can rely on it. Maybe there will be big clouds or something that block it, but most of the times you can like you have some even light when it's natural. And especially like, for example, the back. This photo, this was just a little bit of roof. The one on the right, I don't know, see if you see my mouse or not, my pointer. But like this was like this photo was in Kuwait, and there was a lot of sun. And in order to take these portraits, I just asked them, like I found like the closest shade that I had and put them in there, but still having some natural light. Because if you take the same photo with directly in the sun, it is very harsh. And same with the other photos, they are in some situations where I try to find a place where there's lighting coming from the window or from a door or from the end of the roof, so that it's not direct, but it looks pretty. And it usually like gets some like nice shades in them. And this applies also for example, like if you're in outdoors and you don't have any like windows or whatever, like this was a shot for an interview, and then find some shade, like some trees or something that can prevent your subject to have very, very strong lights hitting them, because they will squint their eyes, like there will be, and then you can just shoot. For example, for these, like sometimes when I'm going to do an interview, I like to take photo still like right before with the same settings that I'm using, just to check that it's actually like good lighting and everything, that it's not like overexposed. And yeah, like it doesn't, many times you do not control, and especially us in scouting where we just go to a camp or we just go to the outdoors, we don't control all the, like we cannot carry like artificial lighting with us, but we can choose where to put our subjects. So yeah, like take care of your lighting and your shade, there it is. Then, especially for video, whenever we're making an interview, or yeah, especially an interview, you are recording someone telling something, like we can choose to ask them to move somewhere else. If we notice that there's some drilling in the background, we can ask them like to move somewhere else. If we notice that there are a lot of loud noises happening somewhere close, if there's a highway and you hear the trucks, we can try to move them to somewhere else. And once we find a place where it is not loud, then we can try to control the things. For example, if we are in a room with lots of aircon, the aircon will sound like, maybe when we are there, because it's white noise, we get used to the aircon sound or ventilators. But once you see the videos, you really hear the. So if it's in your possibility, just when you're recording someone, you'll think about like, can I turn that white noise in the background? Can I turn can I ask someone not to make coffee in this moment? Can I ask someone not to turn on the blender? And if it's in your possibilities, just make an effort to do it so that it's not loud. But sometimes there are some sounds that just happen. For example, if you're recording someone in the street, even if it's kind of quiet, there will be a motorcycle passing sometimes, or there will be a helicopter passing, or a loud bang. it is okay to ask the person to repeat the question, the answer again. Nothing happens. Like if there's a very loud noise when they are speaking, we can always ask them to say the answer again. Like it's fine, nothing happens. And sometimes if we get to interview someone that is super important, we get scared and think like, no, like they don't have time for us to answer again. Most of the times it's fine. Most of the times we call them, oh, sorry, I couldn't hear you because a big truck passed. Can you please repeat? And most people are nice, and they just respond of the question. Another thing, like especially for well, of course, for video, try using an external microphone. I mean, if you're recording your phone and you don't have the equipment, sometimes it's hard. But a tip that I can give you is if you are with someone else and you're recording with your phone, you can give your phone to, you can ask for the phone of the other person that is with you, like if you're with a colleague or with another volunteer or something, and you can then make a voice recording with the other phone and hide that phone. Like, for example, I've done in the past that with the other phone, I just give them to put them in their pocket. It doesn't look that pretty, but at least they are getting a better audio. And then if you can, and you know how to, like, then you can mix the two, the video with the recording, and it's that easy thing improves a lot the quality, because many times when we watch a video of someone talking, if the audio is not correct, like if we don't hear them well, even if it's the most interesting thing ever, many times we will stop watching. And like it's not the fault of the viewer. It's just like there's so much content out there, there's so much things to watch, that if it doesn't sound well, why should we watch it? So that's a quick recommendation. Of course, if you have access to another phone. If not, try to find the quieter place so that with your own phone it sounds well. And also for video, if you're choosing to edit your video with some music, try to add music that relates to the emotion that you want to portray. Many times, many people fall into the trap of using the most epic music that they like into their video. And many times this music is way more epic than whatever is happening, and it will just distract the viewer. Or maybe like we will think like, this tiny piano is very cute, but then the images is for, I don't know, like scouts going through zip lines and climbing and super adventurous, and then the music is just like a sweet piano. Like if it doesn't like match the emotion with what you're viewing, sometimes the viewer, like not knowing why, like gets confused and distracted. So just like ask yourself whenever you're choosing music, what is the emotion that I want to portray? And from that, then you can choose music. And not always music is necessary, but if you're choosing to use music, then think about this. And of course, unless you're paying for a specific audio library, which if you can, it's great. But if not, try using royalty-free music so that once your video is out there on social media, it doesn't get taken down. I mean, unless you're doing a video using Instagram or using TikTok, and those two platforms give you the possibility to use some trendy music because they have the rights and they can only be played in the platforms, you can use that. But if you're using this video for other platforms, if it's like a long form video on YouTube or on Facebook, use royalty-free music. And just a quick tip for you, you can find lots of royalty-free music that you will have no problem with it on YouTube Studio Library. It is free, it is accessible to anyone. You just need to create a YouTube account. And once you create your YouTube account and your YouTube channel, there's a part called Studio, and there you can find the audio library. And there are literally hundreds of songs that are royalty free, and some of them you don't even need to add attribution to it. And if you use those, you will have no problems. Just like If you didn't know about this, just write it down, just look for the YouTube audio library, and it is very, very easy to access. You just need a YouTube account, and in the studio area, you can find it. Then, another recommendation that will be only for video. Try to be stable. Like even if you're with your phone, make sure not to be wobbling around and moving around, and like try to find a stable position. Like if you're recording someone, like open your legs, would like be stable and film. It can take time. Like if you know that this video will be specifically for TikTok or for a story, then and you're holding it vertically is fine, but like be stable with it. Like look at what you're doing and be stable, and don't move around, because those wobbly movements tire people, tire the viewer. If you have access to a tripod or a monopod, that's even better. And of course, like if you want to be creative and move, plan your movements. Don't just move because the thing is moving, so you follow it with your camera. No, like think of your movement as independent to the subject's movement. So if the movement is running and you want to move, maybe you're not just like going to follow them. Maybe you're going to like pan a little bit so that you follow the movement, but without being distracting to the viewer. So plan your movements, even if you're just using your phone. And if you don't plan your movements, it's better just to stay still and let the activity happen, because if not, it can be very hard to follow and very hard to stabilize afterwards. Especially if you're holding it with your hand, it might be like hard to stabilize it afterwards if you're not like cool and just like filming and letting the thing happen. So yeah, don't follow the action of the subject just for the sake of following it. Like think like, why am I moving with it? Do I need it? Maybe I can just like film running, or maybe I can just move a little bit around. Of course, if you have some fancy gear where you can stabilize your camera, then great, go for it. But most of the cases, you will not. So if you want to move, it's fine, but plan it ahead so that it is easy to use. Then the next recommendation is, especially if you are planning an interview, if you're planning a shoot, if you're planning like some photos, think of the time of the day when you're doing it and think of why. I mean, these are not rules, like maybe you want a very specific lighting and very specific time for a reason. But in general, if you're filming outside, film very early in the morning when there's less people. Maybe where you live very early in the morning is where most people are outside, so then change it accordingly to wherever you are. But most of the times, if you go very early in the morning, there will be less people. And also the sun will not be too high in the sky. So you can film outside without having very, very strong light in you. So as a recommendation, try filming early, try filming when the sun is not in the highest point. And ideally, if you don't have the equipment to illuminate your subjects, choose day over night. Of course, if we are covering a scout activity, we don't get to choose that because it's just happening throughout the day and throughout the night. But then we try to make the most out of whatever situation that we have. And also like make conscious decisions of why you're doing it at a certain time. Maybe wherever you want to shoot, you actually want to show a lot of people. So then you check at the time of day when most people are there. Maybe wherever you are, you want like you know that if you film in the morning, there will be no sun in the front of the building, but you want it illuminated. So make conscious decisions of when you want to shoot. Just think about it. Like just don't fit the time just because it's the most convenient. Try to think about how's the light whenever you're shooting. How's the noise? Maybe you know that at a certain time of day they start a construction and you don't want that. Maybe a specific time of day there's the call to prayer and it will be very loud for your interview. So make a conscious decision of what is happening around you in order to choose when you're going to film or when you're going to do photography. And now it comes two quick clips. Like as most people have just their phones to take photographs, there are a couple of tips that I want to give you on how to do it better. The first one might sound obvious, but most people forget about this. Whenever we're like grabbing our phones, putting them in the pocket and then taking it out, we usually touch them with our fingers. And when we touch the camera with our fingers are oily. So then the camera becomes blocked, like not fully blocked, but it becomes blurry. And sometimes we take a photo and we just think like, oh no, my phone doesn't take good photos. But maybe your phone takes okay photos, but all the camera is blurry because of all of your fingers. So before you take a photo, before you take a video with your phone, just clean it. And it can be like done with your shirt or with your scarf, or like as long as it's not like an abrasive material, like it should be fine. Just clean it with a cloth, and then you can better take photos, and they will be less blurry. And another recommendation is whenever you're taking photos with your phone, and especially video, like if you take a photo, usually your phone has an algorithm that will try to make the best out of whatever you're shooting. But if you want something specific, lock the exposure. And also when you're doing video, like if you don't lock the exposure and you shoot someone, if the light changes, sometimes the background will be illuminated, sometimes the person, if like something goes around, then the focus will change. So in order to avoid all of this, you can lock exposure. And this can be done either in Android phones or in iPhones. Like it can be done in both. And the only thing that you need to do is to, wherever like you see an object, you just like click on it. And then either you have, like it will look different if you have iPhone or an Android, and you will be able to choose if you want more exposition or less exposition. Like if it's too dark or too bright, you can move this, and then you can lock it. On the iPhone, you don't have the tiny lock, but you can just like keep it tapped. And after keeping it tapped for like a second or two, it will lock the exposition in that way. So then it doesn't matter if suddenly there's a big light behind the person that you're interviewing, the light will not change on the phone. Like the phone will not be like trying to compensate that. So a big recommendation is to lock your exposition. And then another quick recommendation is if you're taking lots of photos of your event, like WhatsApp is great to send the photos immediately so that people can see them, but it's not a good tool for sharing the photos if you want to do publications afterwards, or if you want to do a nice post, because WhatsApp compresses the photographs a lot. Like it will make very, very tiny files that whenever you want to use them in another thing, they will not look with the same quality that you take them. So sure, you can use WhatsApp to share photos among your friends, but if you want to send them for usage, try not using WhatsApp. Try using another type of file transferring tool like WeTransfer or by email, or uploading them to a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder, but avoid using WhatsApp in most cases, because it will compress a lot the photo and it will not look as good. And yeah, and of course, the final tip that is not here, make sure that whatever device that you're using to record or take photographs, either your phone or camera, has battery for going on the field. It sounds silly, but it happens a lot that you just like the camera of your phone uses a lot of battery. Cameras use a lot of battery when they are filming. So you just make sure that you have full battery for any type of field work. And that's it for the planned tips. And now I can open the floor for any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Kike, for your presentation. That was really great. And I certainly learned a lot of tips and tricks, especially the one about cleaning your phone camera lens before you take photos, because that would explain a lot why my photos can be blurry. Now, I have the pleasure of working alongside you, so it's a real treat to be learning from you today and learning all your sort of secrets. We have about 15 or so minutes for questions and answers, and we'd love to hear from people in the room. Obviously, this is an interactive session, so if you have any questions, please do feel free to unmute yourself or type the questions in the chat. Whilst we're waiting and giving you all some time to think about some questions, I have a few. I know you mentioned towards the end about WhatsApp. Don't use WhatsApp if you want to transfer photos. But what would you recommend in places that have, say, limited or slow internet, you know, and or say like you wanted to post to social media, so it wasn't, you didn't need like a really high quality photo? Like what tips would you recommend?
Okay, so if you're in a place with very, very limited internet connection, you have the possibility of moving to wherever you're going to use the photos, I would recommend to wait and transfer them directly, like plug your phone to the computer and actually transfer them that way. If not, tools like WeTransfer, I will write it on the chat. It's free to use up to certain amount of megabytes, and you don't need a very, very fast internet connection. It will just take a long time to upload. WeTransfer. But it will harm, like I'm putting it in the chat. And also, for example, most people have Gmail, and well, if you don't have Gmail, sorry, but Gmail has some free space for Google Drive that you can drag your photos and put them there. And also, if you use Google Photos, you can share your photos from there. And even though Google Photos does compress the photographs, just for you not to use all the space that you have on Google, they are not compressed as much. And it is I mean, maybe not as fast as WhatsApp, because WhatsApp compresses them a lot, but it does help better. I see that Rodolfo has his hand up.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Rodolfo.
Okay, Rodolfo from Benin Scout Group. Can you tell us about the right on the use of music in our videos? What are the conditions if a music particular interests us, and how to do if it's not free?
Okay, so the bad news there is that most songs that are popular and we like, we cannot use them. Like it has to be very specific by the artist that says that they allow people to use their photo, their music. But most of the cases, we just need to avoid it because they will be regulated. And even if for some reason the artist says that people can use it, most of the platforms don't know it. So for example, if you upload a video with a song to Facebook or to YouTube, Facebook will recognize the song, and they don't know that the artist gave permission unless the music company told them. So they will take down the video. Same with YouTube. YouTube is a little bit more friendly in that sense that many of the artists, they have an agreement with YouTube that allow their songs to stay there, so the videos don't get taken down immediately, but they will have ads, and any ads that your video has will give money to the artists. Personally, I'm fine with that. Like if I'm using their music and they will make more money if people watch the video, is fine. But we have to be conscious that if at any moment the music company and YouTube change their agreement, your video may be taken down. So it's actually better not to use any music from artists. That's why it's better to use some royalty-free music. Like for example, like the YouTube music library has a lot of things you can select by genre, by tempo, and it helps you to have no problems in the future because you can grab the songs from there and just use them. It is hard, and sometimes it's very frustrating because we think that we're making, like, we are honoring the artist by using their song, but they cannot evaluate case by case, and it's just very, very hard to get the full agreements. So I would just recommend you just not to use public yeah, like songs with royalties, because it's very hard to get the full rights and not have problems with your video after.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. This one I think you've just covered as well. From Natasha. It says, hi, Enrique, thank you so much for this. Just a question about music. Can you use music from YouTube Audio Library for free on other platforms too? Or is it just royalty free on YouTube? What if you load the video on Facebook or Instagram, or use the video for training or fundraising?
You can use it. YouTube, like in the library there in YouTube, you will say, like there are some that says that limit the way you can use it, but most of them you can use it anywhere you want. Like they are just free royalty music that you can use, and the YouTube will not follow you for those if you use them outside of YouTube. So in that sense, like I'm very glad that they do that, and I've done it in the past that I use music from them for multiple platforms. There is never a problem.
The next question we have is from on the chat as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting your questions in the chat. We have a lot coming through. Is from Ajahosi. I'm afraid it's in French, and my French is a little bit rusty. So could I please get Ko to help with this? I believe it's about taking photos using a camera.
So I didn't understand the question.
Oh, it's in French. And Ko, can you help translate the question? Well, whilst we're waiting for that, I'll go down to the next question, which is from Frederic. And the question is, what are the minimum number of people needed to take a video at an event?
Oh, well, that's a bit hard to answer. I would say it depends on the size of your event. Like if your event is in a stadium and you are having things happening in the front, in the stage, and then things in the back, maybe one person will be extremely hard to cover it. So many times, like I've been in many situations where I'm the only person covering the event, and you need to run a lot and you need to take different angles, and it's not ideal. So I would say at least you should have one main videographer and one second camera. And this also helps for example, if you're shooting one person, you can have yeah, like a secondary camera to take the secondary shot. And yeah, but yeah, it would depend on the event, and especially, for example, if your event has multiple activities happening at once in different places, I would evaluate how many hours are the activities running. And then, so let's say your event has 5 activities and they are passing throughout the whole day. So maybe one person can actually go from one to the other during the day. But maybe you have like 5 activities, but they are only happening during 1 hour and they are very far from each other. So maybe you need 2 or 3 persons so that they can distribute themselves. So I think it's very much case by case how many people you would have. I would like ideally I would always have at least 2 persons shooting video so that you get different angles. But yeah, it's very much case by case.
We also have another question, and it says, how do you clean your camera? What are the specific moments to take a photo during a scouting activity? And is it necessary I'm sorry, I had to run this through Google Translate. Is it necessary to sign the photos in the account of an activity? Maybe just take the bit about how do you clean your camera and what are the specific moments to take photos during a scouting activity? Okay, how to clean your camera? Like that question would be divided in 2 parts. If it's a professional DSLR camera or professional camera in general, you should be using like for the body of the camera, one second. So for the body of the camera, you can use a normal cloth and just clean it well, like in the back and everything, like with a clean cloth, you can do it. But then for the lens itself, you should be using a specialized cloth like the ones that you use to clean normal eyewear. That same one works, so you can clean your lens. Also make sure that that cloth doesn't have sand or doesn't have like it's not dirty, because it can scratch the lens. So ideally it should be like clean enough, and then you can like clean your lens with it.
that's one part. The other part is the interior of the camera. If the camera is dirty on the inside, you shouldn't clean it. You should take it to a certified like camera shop, and they will clean it inside. Because if you try to clean, like let's say that the sensor has some dirt in it and you could try to clean it, you could scratch the sensor. And if you scratch the sensor, your sensor is ruined and your camera will be affected forever until you change the lens, the sensor, and that's very expensive. So yeah, if it's external, you can do it. If it's internal, you should take it to a service center. And yeah, I hope that answers that question. And the other question was, well, how do I know when I take photos? I think.
Oops. Hang on one second. What are the specific moments to take a photo during a scouting activity?
Well, I think that's no an exact science. So I would say like any moment that you think is relevant. Maybe it's and why it's relevant. Maybe it's relevant because there's a ceremony happening. Maybe it's relevant because scouts are having a lot of fun. Maybe it's relevant because someone is visiting. Maybe it's relevant because the scouts are doing an activity that is very eye-catching. Maybe they are doing archery. Maybe they are climbing. Maybe, yeah. So it will depend. Like maybe you could ask yourself, if I take this photo, would it be interesting for others to see? And if the answer is yes, then for sure take it. And even if the answer is no, you can ask yourself, how can I make this interesting to others? Maybe nothing special is happening, but you see a very nice moment where you can show the diversity of scouting. Maybe in the photograph, it's just a bunch of kids of different nationalities or different cultures, and that's a very nice moment to take the photo and just portray that moment. It's not like many times we don't need to be something very, very fancy happening for it to be special. Like we can make it special if we think of what we want to tell with that image. Yeah, I hope that answers the question.
We also have a question on, well, it was more a clarification on how to maintain the light and lock the exposure. I think they wanted a bit more clarity on that.
All right, let me try to show it here. So, for example, here I'm going to use my phone. When you have the normal camera app of your phone, you just have to tap on the like whatever you want to shoot. For example, I will tap on my eye. It's a bit hard to see because I'm guiding myself through the camera. But like if you tap there, a little circle will appear. I don't know if you can see it, but a tiny circle appears, and that circle has like a little bar that you can move in order to have more exposition, less exposition. So then you tap it, you move wherever it's good for you, and then you can press on the lock. And then it will stay like that all the time, regardless what happens. On iPhone, you also tap on the person, you choose the exposition, and then you just keep tapping until there's a little sign that says locked. Let me share the presentation again. So that, yeah, share screen. Yeah. Are you seeing? Yeah. So here in iPhone, there will be this sign appearing, which is like autofocus and auto exposition lock. Once you like keep tapping on it, and on Android, you will have an actual lock that you can close and open when you tap on it. So yeah, that's how you do it. And then if you want to unlock it, you just tap somewhere else in the screen and it will go back to automatic.
Okay, we have another question that says, since we mostly use WhatsApp, how can we best improve the quality of our photos?
Okay, so that is tricky. Well, yeah, I know that's actually why I mentioned WhatsApp. We all use WhatsApp. That's how we usually send the photos. The problem, like, we have to be conscious that if that is the tool that we're using, the photos will be lower quality. Like, let's say, like if your phone takes a photo that is 2 megabytes big, when you pass it through WhatsApp, I don't know the exact numbers right now, but probably will be, instead of 2 megabytes, it will be 200K, okay, which will be like 1/10 of the size of that photograph. So you're losing 90% of the information of that photo. That's why if you want to use it later and you want to make it bigger or you want to change the colors, there will be no enough information in that file for you to modify it. Of course, if that's the only resource that you have, like you can use it, but the quality will not be the best. Maybe a quick recommendation would be like, try not using WhatsApp to send like very large group photos, because once you send it, each face will look a bit blurry, will not look that great. But if you just send a portrait, it will look a bit better because the compression doesn't, like, you don't need that much definition. So maybe if WhatsApp is the only tool that you have, you can choose case by case. I mean, if it's what you have, keep using it. Like, it's better than nothing, and it's free, and it will send the photos and it will do the work. But if you can wait to be in a computer and maybe upload your photos to Google Drive and share that folder, of course, space in Google Drive is not unlimited, so you can, after the other person downloads them to their computer, I recommend you to delete them from yours, well, from your account if you don't have like a big amount of gigabytes there. So yeah, maybe if you're sticking to WhatsApp, maybe try to send photos that are not too big so that the compression doesn't affect them that much.
We also have another question from Bethy Lathy, and she says, I have an inquiry regarding pictures. There were two people painting the wall, and I understand the context is not really clear. Like you said, it was going to be better if the photographer changed the angle or asked the participants to turn. But my concern is that, are we going to disturb them if we ask them to look at us? And if that happens, will they pose and make the picture look unrealistic?
Well, we could do two things. First, like, try to move and take them from another angle, and then just ask them, like, and if if their response is not too natural, well, we try. But I rather try it than just stick with the photos. And it doesn't, like, sometimes we think like, oh no, it's documentary, like it's a documentary photography, so we shouldn't disturb it. But no, like, not even the best like documentary photographers are there, keep the thing like super purist. Like, for example, I don't know if you know him, but for one of the most famous documentary photographers, which is Steve McCurry, he took the very famous portrait of the Afghan girl. He asks the people to stand in specific places. He asks the people to show what they are doing. And it's fine, like, because like you're not pretending that they are doing something they are not. They are still doing it, just looking at you or smiling. Like, it is fine. It's fine to ask people to do it. And if you are worried that it will not look too natural, then they took photos, one before asking them in the best angle that you can, and then one asking them, and let's see if it looks natural or not.
We have a few more questions, which is, it's wonderful that everyone's asking so many questions. And also a huge thanks to Frank for translating the French questions into English for us. One of the ones that he's translated is for video editing, how to choose good music. I know you touched on this. Are there any other tips and tricks you can offer for that?
Well, I would stick to what I was saying on, like, try to think of what is the type of emotion that you want to portray, and then over that, like, hear music that gives you that sensation. But also try, especially if you have like, if it's an interview and you need to hear the person, try not to use music that will distract the audience too much. Like, if the music has lyrics, if the music has too many like too much rhythm in it, like, it might be nicer to listen than what the person is saying, so then the person, your viewers will not hear your interviewing. Maybe you're only showing like some footage, and then like you need like a fast tempo music in order to edit, but yeah, like, just try that your music accompanies your video, but it's not the protagonist of your video. unless you're making a music video, and then it's just fine. And also try, once you choose music, try to edit over it. So for example, if the music has like a nice tempo, maybe you can choose to like change the scenes everyone's rhythm, like tan, change scene, like, but it depends on what you want to portray. Like maybe if you have very nice long shots, you could use something that has a lower tempo, like to show them. But if you have like lots of clips of scouts smiling and doing activities, maybe you can use like a more upbeat music so that you can like edit over it. So it depends. But I think that a good recommendation would be like if you're choosing a very powerful song, just make sure that it will not be more than your video, unless your video needs that. But yeah, like just make that conscious thought. And of course, make sure that the music is lower than the voices. And sometimes it's much lower, because maybe you've watched the interview, so then you know what they are saying. But then once someone else watches it, because they've never listened to the voice before, the music will be too loud for them to actually understand what the person is saying. So yeah, I think those are some extra recommendations about the topic.
We also have a really practical question, and this is something that I think about a lot from Slokin Pakom, and he asks, and they ask, how can you modify a photo during a scout activity where someone who does not want us to use, where someone does not want us to use their image in a publication if they're not a scout like us? Is it possible to modify the image on a smartphone?
There are some editing tools that allow you to blur faces. If you're on the activity, it's just like, usually it's just easier to take another photo that doesn't include that person. I know that this is not very helpful, but like as I was saying, like if you cannot show a photo with that person and you need to publish the photo right there, might be better to take another photo. A quick thing that you could do is try, I mean, and it depends on the photo. Maybe like that photo cannot be cropped, but most phones, and just with the basic gallery of your phone, you can crop photos. So maybe try cropping it to avoid that person is there. And then there are some other tools, like I don't have the name right now on one of them, but there are some tools that you can blur faces. I would need to make a little bit research on which ones are the best and which ones are free, but there are tools that can do it. Quick recommendation, I would try to avoid just taking that person that doesn't want to be in the photographs, just not to have a problem. Because even like, for me, when I go back home and I know that I shouldn't share some people, even with the proper tools, it takes time to hide faces. So yeah, like many things that photographers and videographers we say is, try to have your photo as close as what you want to have as an end project once you take it. Because if you leave it for editing later, it will take time, it will be harder, maybe it will not be possible. So just try whenever you take your photo or your video to make it as close as you want to the end project, to the end product.
We have another question that touches on tools, but this is for video. So it says, hello, everybody. This is from Jean Roland. And thank you for the question. It says, hello, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. When using an external microphone for video recording, how do I join the recorded sound to the video? Okay, so this will depend on the tool that you're using. I wouldn't recommend this if you're just using your phone, but if you're using your computer, most editing software, you can put the video and then put the audio on top, and then you have to mute your the video one and then just use the audio. It is a bit hard to explain this just without showing the software, but most softwares, even the free ones, you can do this. A recommendation that I would give you, if you already know how to edit and put the audio and the video, but you find you have a hard time synchronizing them, a tip that I could give you is that whenever you're going to start shooting,
make a loud clap or a loud sound when you're doing it. So for example, if you're shooting the interview and you have like, you're using the tip that I was giving you of like using another phone or an external microphone, like you hit record, it is hard to hit record exactly at the same time, so don't rely on that. And then once you have the person on your shot, just ask them to make a big clap. That big clap, once you put the two things on the editing tool, it is hard. Like the video, you just cut it exactly when the person is clapping, and then the audio will have a big loud noise, like on the yeah, like if you've seen this, like probably if you're asking, maybe you've seen like audio in an editing tool, it shows like the audio waves, and then a hard noise, it will be like boom. So then that boom is your clap. So you just need to align that sound with the clap, like with the image of the clap. And then from there you can cut, and then you have them both together. And then from there, if you want to cut and to edit, just keep them always together.
We actually have a follow-up question from Sorokin Pacon about, it was the previous question on how do you modify a photo for someone who doesn't want to be in the publication. You know, you mentioned some tools, and I think they were after specific applications. If you could, you know, mention a few that would be useful for that.
Right now, I don't have them top of my mind. Like I would need to go on the store and look for the application. So I'm sorry. Right now I don't know. Like for example, if you have Lightroom on your phone, you can blur people out, but that's the only one that comes to my mind right now. If like this will not look great, but if you actually need that photo in the moment, you can paint black on the face with the normal, like when you share a photo on WhatsApp, or when you share a photo like on the editing software on your, like the normal on your phone, you can grab the brush and paint black in front of the face. It will not look pretty, but that's a quick solution that I could give you right now. If not, like I would need to go on the App Store right now and find the right tools, and I think that wouldn't leave us enough time. Sorry.
We have a comment as well from Neil Bolandrina, who says that I use Viber, the messaging app, to send photos, and it doesn't reduce the quality of the photos. So is that a good choice then to use?
I've never used Viber, but I trust Neil if Neil says that it doesn't compress a photo. So that could be an option, but I've never used Viber, so I cannot speak about it.
I think that's the last question that I have on the chat. If anybody else has any more questions, please raise a hand, type anything in the chat. But in the meantime, whilst waiting, perhaps Kike, you could talk a little bit about the Volunteer Photo and Video Network.
Yes, of course. So yeah, this is thank you for reminding me about this. We are going to be launching we want to create a network of photographers and videographers from the NSO, so that we can complement the libraries that we have at WOSM. Like our media galleries can be used by every NSO, and we want it to have more photos, to be more representative of different regions, and to have more representation of our movement and from the countries that we represent. So very soon we will be talking more about you, so that you can, if you know, propose some photographers or videographers from your NSOs that could be interested in joining this network. And then they would have some other training, so that we can explain them how to add their material to the media library, so that we can use it in everyday publications. And yeah, please pay attention to that announcement.
Fabulous, thank you. I can't see any more questions, and I can't see any more raised hands, and I'm very aware that we've run a little bit over time, which is a great sign, because it obviously shows how valuable this session is and how much people want to learn and have learned. So thank you so much, everybody, for those. And I guess we can wrap this session up here. So thank you so much, Kike. Oh, hang on. I've just seen something in the chat. Oh, and thank you to Frank for translating the questions from Co. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I guess so. All that's left to say is thank you so much to Kike, and also obviously to Angel, who spoke a little bit at the beginning, and well done. Really useful session. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you again for the next session in about 4 weeks' time. So stay tuned for all the email announcements and Facebook announcements.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.